let's shift gears here and let's do some game picks. We haven't done a segment like this on the podcast yet, but with teams kind of building their resumes as we move through the season here, going into week 5. It could be a good idea here to take a look at some big games this weekend and make our picks, make the case for each of them. So we're going to look at 3 games here: the Rams at the Seahawks, the Browns at the Chargers, and the Bills at the Chiefs. And we'll start with the Rams at the Seahawks. That game will take place tomorrow night. What you think? What you got here? The Rams coming off a loss. Seahawks, I believe, coming off a win, if I have that right.
I
To
think
look
I
back, I
think
get my
that's
weeks
that.
mixed up.
I don't know.
Let's see. Yeah, the Seahawks came off a win over the 49ers. They won by a touchdown. So yeah,
Yeah,
two teams that's consistent, perennial contenders. What do you think?
yeah. I think the Rams still have the edge in this matchup so far. They seem to be looking very strong right now. Got that huge win over the Bucks. That really just shows how good they can be. And Matthew Stafford's really playing great this season. Sort of like a Sam Darnold situation. Like he moves on from the team that he was with that just struggled for many years. And wonder if it's not really a case of the quarterback, but just the team or around him. So now that he's got great wide receivers like Cooper Cup and Robert Woods, I think this team is going to be one of the favorites in the NFC. So yeah, I like the Rams in this matchup, and also Sean McVay is just a great coach. I think he's done very well with the Rams.
I'm going to agree with you on this one. I think that we'll talk about this a little more when we get into the power rankings discussion that we're going to have in a little bit here. But I think despite the Rams' loss last week, I still think that they are a top, if not the top, Super Bowl contender here for 2021. And I spent a lot of years as a Packers fan watching Matthew Stafford in Detroit, and it didn't matter that the Lions were bad, even on the really, really bad years. The Lions versus Packers games always brought me more fear than the Lions, Vikings, Lions, Bears games, no matter the
Mm-hmm,
situation, because of Matt
mm-hmm,
Stafford. So
mm-hmm.
any Lions fan who watched him play for years, or Packers fan, or you name it, anybody who watched him play for all those years when he came out of college, his success with the Rams is not surprising. Uh, yeah, I think that he's going to be a top MVP candidate at the end of the year. I think the Rams get it back on track this week. Um, yeah, I think they take care of business even against the 12th man out there. So that'll be a fun one to watch on Thursday night. I'm looking forward to that. It's good to have good Thursday night games.
Yeah, for
That's for
sure.
sure.
Yeah, because some of them are just so terrible. Like we had the Bengals and the
Yep.
Jaguars, which actually turned out to be a close
It's a
game. And it
decent
was
game.
like, and I was like, huh, but like still you're like, oh, like, well, we got like 2 rookie quarterbacks, but like one of them is like just doing terribly, surprisingly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like the teams in general are just like, eh, you know?
Right. I completely agree. It was an exciting one last Thursday, I will say. Um,
Yeah.
Maybe the more exciting stuff happened after the game, though, with the whole Urban Meyer debacle
Oh
going
yeah.
on. So we won't get into that too much. I think other people have covered that plenty. Um,
Yeah.
but I think it's worth noting as well that the Rams lost to the Cardinals last week, and the Cardinals, my goodness, this
Wow.
team, there's not a hotter team right now, not a hotter offense. Their defense is coming together. Um, we'll talk about them more when we get into the power ranking stuff. But saying the Rams came off a loss, I think you definitely have to say who they lost to, and I think that they're going to be just fine, and I think they take care of business tomorrow night in Seattle. So let's move on to our next game here. We have the Browns at the Chargers. Chargers picked up a big win against Oakland last week, division opponents. Great game all the way to the end. That was on Sunday night. No, Monday night. That was the Monday night game. And let's see, the Browns played the Vikings. Kind of a surprising game though. They only scored 14 points. It was a low scoring game all around. 14-7 was the final there. And this week, the Browns have to travel to the Chargers, and I think the Chargers, the AFC West is just a scary division, scary good that is. And the Chargers, the Raiders, the Broncos, the Chiefs, all there, and the Chargers and the Raiders look great. The Raiders looked vulnerable last week, I will say, especially when Carr was under pressure. And on this podcast, I've been high on the Raiders, but the Chargers are a sneaky Super Bowl pick, I think. That they looked phenomenal. Their offense, with Justin Herbert firing on all cylinders, if he can stay consistent in his second year, that team's going to be scary. I think that this is a Chargers win. I'm not sure that it's a blowout by any means. That the Browns have an amazing front on the defensive side of the ball. Their corners and secondary has been a bit spotty and questionable, but not bad by any stretch of the imagination. So I think this is a close game, but I do think that the Chargers pull it out. What's your thoughts?
I agree. I think the Chargers are gonna win this one. Justin Herbert has been pretty solid. As he was last year, Justin Herbert really had a breakout year that season, and people weren't too as keen as on Justin Herbert. Some people weren't, but some people weren't as keen on Justin Herbert as they were with Tua. But yeah, Justin Herbert has shown that he can lead a football team very well. And we've got the emergence of Mike Williams this year that has done tremendous and we also got Keenan Allen, of course. So we got a very strong wide receiving core. Unlike the Patriots, really, where our top wide receivers are like Kendrick Bourne and Jacoby Myers, and it's like why can't we have like those wide receivers?
Right. I think what will be interesting here is the matchup between the Chargers defensive line and the Browns running game. Because it seems like everything in Cleveland runs through Kareem Hunt and, oh my God, through that running game, Nick Chubb. So that'll be interesting. And look, if the Chargers can stop that running game, this one might be a blowout. This one might get off the rails a bit. Mayfield didn't play that well last week against kind of a shoddy Minnesota secondary. I haven't seen too much about Minnesota this season, but I do know that their defense is what's hurting them so far as we've gone along here. Poor defensive line play up front, and really, I shouldn't say poor secondary play. They have a very young secondary. But still, that's a surprising thing. And this was a game that Nick Chubb went for 100 yards on, I believe, 20-plus carries. So they had the run game going. It was just a bad day for Baker, even though they got the win. If the Chargers can show up and stop the run, they have a far better secondary than Minnesota, and this one could get ugly, especially with it being in LA. So we'll see. It'll be a great game, though. This is one that I'm definitely looking forward to.
Yeah. Browns wide receivers like Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham, haven't done great this year so far. They've done all right, but they haven't had any big games so far. Maybe that's the fault of Baker Mayfield. Maybe that's their own fault. I don't know. But we'll see. The Browns are sort of sort of how they've always been. Like they're sort of a volatile team. You could get the good Browns team, you could get, the mediocre Browns team,
I agree. I think the Browns will be fine. I think that this is going to be end up being a good year for them, and I think they're trending up. But I agree. They're a bit volatile right now. That's for sure. And I think this is going to be a big game. We're going to really find out who they are this week, especially going into a hostile environment like that. So we'll see. That's a good one though. That's one that I'm definitely marking down in the calendar. And the last one here that we want to discuss is the Bills at the Chiefs. Another big game. Chiefs have not looked like the championship contenders that they have been in the past 5 seasons. That's not to say that they've looked bad, but their defense has definitely been spotty. The Bills' offense is obviously something to talk about, but the Bills' defense too is something that I think, like, if the Bills are firing on all cylinders, which is to say, if their defense can hold Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs' offense in check, then I'm not sure that the Chiefs' defense is up to snuff to keep the Bills' offense, Josh Allen and company, in check. And I think that the Bills pulled this one out, which is big news in KC, because that goes from the Chiefs being on a slight dip to now a downward slide, especially in the AFC West, where really every game matters. Even though this isn't a divisional game, you have to imagine with every loss that you incur, there's 3 teams with the Broncos, the Raiders, and the Chargers that are more than likely to pull out a win that week, unless they're playing each other. So in the AFC West, wins are at a premium, and the Chiefs cannot afford to lose this one, which also makes it a bit more interesting. But yeah. I still think that the Chiefs defense is too questionable right now to keep up with Josh Allen. And I think the Bills defense is good enough to stop Patrick Mahomes and keep this from being a shootout. So I think the Bills take this one. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. I would want to disagree, since, to have some debate, but I think you could be right. I think this is going to be a lot closer than the Chargers-Browns game, but I think that the Bills are going to end up, edging this one out, because, just off of momentum, one thing I think, and Josh Allen is having, some would say, an MVP like season right now, and you've got Stephon Diggs, who is also having a terrific season, and we got a pretty good running game from guys like Zach Moss, and the defense is playing pretty well too. So overall, the Bills are just a very solid team right now in the AFC. And if the Chiefs lose this one, that's going to be tough ground for them to make up if they're close in record with the Bills at the end of the season. Oh man,
I was muted again.
You muted again. Oh geez.
I just wanted to express my agreement. So nothing new to add on that one. I completely agree. And this is a great slate of games this week. There was some honorable mention ones that we could have talked about. Like, let's see here. It's like 49ers Cardinals. That could be a big one. Although I don't think it's as big. I don't think the 49ers are as good as people think they are. And they're going into the Cardinals facility there. So I don't see that one being that close. And then we also have the Ravens and the Colts. The Colts have been looking better. That one's Colts at Ravens, though. And once again, I think the home field advantage, Lamar Jackson playing out of his mind. I think that one's a Ravens victory, too. And
yeah. It's like the Colts with Carson Wentz, it's not reliable at all. He's not
Does not instill confidence.
He's not been in it at all. So, when your starting quarterback can't stay healthy, that's never really a good thing. That's never who you want to have injured.